All right, tell them.
Okay, on chapter 4, we're looking at the actual picture of one of the machine guns that John Jeckovich would use, a water-cooled.
It was a Browning,
A Browning.
Yeah.
M1917A1.
Yeah, I don't remember.
How did the water cooled the barrel, but how did the water that's on the ground?
They usually have a can next to it, and that pressure in that tank pressurizes that tank, and they get the water in the tank.
So it would like suck the water up.
Huh? Yeah.
Water's
yeah.
down there and suck the water up. Like a.
But it wasn't practical. It wasn't practical.
But
And I never used it in service, never.
But didn't they need
Huh?
Didn't they need water to cool that machine gun?
Yeah.
Because I
in the
thought-
tank, yeah. The guys got their hands burned because when they picked it, it was a tripod and a receiver. Well, the tripod was heavy, tore over his shoulders, and that was the gunner, and the assistant gunner took the tank. But the tank was hot because if it was firing, that tank was hot.
Wow. Yeah, because I know you said one of your buddies got his hands burned badly.
Huh? Yeah, they got their hands burned or something.
Okay, I'm going to keep on reading. Chapter 4. Give me a second to find my place.
Can't find it.
Several yards in the course, I was completely soaked and covered with mud. My vision was blurred.
What?
Your vision was blurred when you're crawling in the mud. There were several hurdles to overcome before we could realize our trip to Evansville. First, our training schedule was being accelerated to the point of occupying most of the day, and secondly, there was a duty roster sheet posted daily on weekends. Company duty could entail everything from KP to guard duty on a day-to-day basis and weekends. Since I had pulled KB and guard duty twice within the past month, I had Smith. We felt secure in the knowledge that we would not get it in again for a while. There was also a formality of Saturday morning inspection and possibly getting gigged and restricted to the barracks for the weekend.
Oh.
It said there's a possibility of being restricted to the barracks on weekends. Friday was usually a short day, competing. Friday was usually a short day, completing our training about 1,200 hours, traveling armament stables until 1,500 hours, and retreated about 1,700 hours. Afterward, we returned to the barracks to prepare them for Saturday morning inspection. That consisted of a GIing the entire barracks, literally from top to bottom. Pails of hot water and GI soap, along with brooms, were applied to the wooden barracks floors until they glistened and shined. The rafters, windowsills, and doors all had to be dust-free, and the glass of the windows had to shine. The latrine had to be spick and span clean. Also, our individual equipment had to be immaculate.
Yeah, your storage box at the front had to be neat and clean, orderly and everything.
How about your weapon?
Weapons were in the center of the room, but they were chained up.
How about your bedroll? How about your bed?
The what?
How about where you slept? Did it have to be nice and clean?
What?
Your bunk.
Oh yeah, the bunk had to be tight. The top sheet had to be real tight. toe set at a certain angle.
How about your boots?
The boots were one boot you wore, and the other boot was in the closet, in that or the box in front of you.
Did you have to polish them every week?
Well, they were supposed to be muddy like this is here, like this. Inspection was Saturday.
Did almost everyone pass inspection?
Well, there were some sloppy guys.
Did they?
Their bunk beds weren't orderly. The sheets weren't orderly. Their shoes weren't underneath the bed the right way.
Did they eventually learn?
Right?
Did they eventually learn?
Well, they put them on KP, get them up 4 o'clock in the morning for KP.
What exactly did they have to do at KP?
Get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the mess hall, help the mess side get ready for supper, for breakfast.
Cooking?
Huh?
Would they be cooking? Is that what they had to do at
Yeah,
KP?
they weren't cooking. No, they were cooking. They were cleaning pots and pans, doing stuff the mess sides would tell them to do.
Okay.
They weren't cooking. No, nobody was cooking but the people in the mess hall.
Okay. All right. The entire cleaning process usually took it to lights out, and everyone participated in it, with the exception of non-coms, who took responsibility only for their individual rooms. Inspection the next morning was at 900 hours, and the inspection team consisted of the company commander, the executive officer, the platoon leader, and the first sergeant and the section sergeant. They would go through the barracks with white gloves on while, so they all wore white gloves?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And would stood at attention beside your bunks. Nothing was overlooked and everything was scrutinized minutely and critically. Occasionally one of the officers would stop at an individual and ask pertinent questions such as...
Give me the second chain of command.
Okay.
What's the third section of the chain of commands?
Okay. They would ask questions like, what is the 7th commandment when on guard duty? He might ask for his rifle serial number. Did you have to memorize your rifle serial number?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. What was that other question that you just said?
They had to know the 7th commandment when on guard duty.
Do you remember what it is, John?
About 7 commandments?
Yeah.
Be on guard, not sleeping, stay on station. Get your relief the right time. When you're told to get up, get up.
After the inspection, we were told how many demerits, if any, we received. They was told to prepare for division prepared at 1100 hours. All the parade grounds, I enjoyed these parades, and they were very colorful and were full of much of pomp and splendor. It was eye-inspiring to see such a large group of soldiers, all in the same uniform, all in step and unison, with their section flags fluttering in the breeze and the divisional band playing martial music. They were filled past the reviewing stand and commanding general and his entourage, staying at attention, watching us pass in review. The entire ceremony lasted several hours after we marched back to the company areas. It was at this time we were informed of the status of our weekend passes and duty. The information was put on a company bulletin board for all to see and weep. Smith and I scanned the weekend pass list, and fortunately we were on it.
They were on it, or they weren't?
They were on it.
Huh?
You were on the weekend pass list.
The what?
You were okay to go to weekend pass. Your name was on the bulletin board.
Yeah, but you got to get out of there because they're looking for people for details on the weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
You check in the orderly, sign out, and get the hell out of there. You can't pull a rub because they'll grab you for details and you'll be stuck on the weekend.
So how'd you do that? You just got out of there really quick then?
Huh?
You got your stuff together and you got out of there?
Yeah.
So even though you had a weekend pass,
They might say, hey,
if you're
Joe.
hanging around, they would say, still go to work.
Well, and they could grab you for details. Just say, hey, come on here. What's the second orderly, second guard duty charge? If you didn't know it, go to QQ was and see you. But you lost your weekend. You lost your
learned to get out
weekend.
of there fast.
Huh?
You learned to get out of there fast when you were on the list?
What?
When you saw yourself on the list, you knew to get out of the base and go to
What do you mean
town.
list?
The list to go out of town, the list,
That you're allowed to have a weekend pass on the bulletin board.
you didn't want to stick around.
Yeah, well, you knew it Friday or Thursday afternoon if you got a pass or not.
Okay. I was apprehensive.
But they could grab you, if you scrolled around talking to somebody, take a late shower or something, oversleep, they could grab you for details and you lost your whole pass.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Get out and get out.
Smith did not want to wait until Chow to leave, but he wanted to catch the first bus to Evansville.
That first bus was 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow. After changing into our dress uniform, we went to the orderly room to pick up our passes and sign out for the weekend. We had to report back at sign-in by 500 hours Monday morning. That's pretty good.
But 9 o'clock.
5 o'clock Monday
5 o'clock, they
morning.
was roll call 5 o'clock.
You had all Friday night, Saturday night. You had all Friday night and all Saturday.
Yeah.
I was a little apprehensive about meeting Smith's girl. I was not very good in these types of social situations. While riding on the bus to Evansville, I informed Smith that I would spend a little time with him and his girl, and then head out on my own. I would sleep Saturday night in the gym at the local church in Evansville, and have breakfast and go to church Sunday service. Smith agreed and nothing more was said about it. As we disembarked from the bus, Smith's girl was waiting for him and was accompanied by another girl. I was introduced to Betsy, her girlfriend, Elaine. I was then discovered that Smith and Betsy had prearranged the entire meeting and were elated about what they had accomplished. I was taken back slightly, but recovered quickly after seeing Elaine. She was attractive, of medium height and slender build, and I thought several years older than I. Elaine had a pleasant personality and was easy to talk to. Since Smith and Betsy were engrossed in our own conversation, we quickly got acquainted. As Betsy had the car, the plan was to take Smith and Betsy back to the motel, and Elaine and I would drive around town, take in a movie, and be back around 1800 hours. The four of us would go off to dinner. And after we dropped off Smith and Betsy at the motel, Elaine and I drove around Evansville for a while. What is strange and incomprehensible to me was the fact that I was participating in this entire episode, something I would have thought highly improbable by me several months ago. I was rather enjoying it and gave me an insight into my capabilities and my social realm. What I found distracting and which I had difficulty with was Smith and Betsy's openness and clear attitude regarding their lodging for one another.
Yeah.
I
They argue like a married couple.
thought they should have more discreet about their desire for one another. For some strange reason, I thought less of Smith and Betsy.
Yeah. Smith and Betsy, yeah.
What happened to Smith?
Well, he finally got out of the service.
Was he older than you?
No, 19.
How did he get out before you?
His attitude.
Oh, he had a rotten attitude.
Yeah. I think he was in behavior for a week too. Bad behavior for a week.
Like in a stockade?
Huh?
Stockade?
No, it wasn't in a stockade. No, he's restricted to quarters.
We stopped at a small...
Hey, Smith was worried because he wanted to marry that stupid girl and had him prized, and then the army stepped in and grabbed him.
Yeah. That would change things quite a bit.
Yeah.
We stopped at a small drive-in restaurant for something to eat and must have stayed there a good hour or so, just talking and getting to know one another. Elaine was from South Carolina, and Betsy had come to Evansville last week to be with Betsy, as was Betsy was from South Carolina. Smith, she was in school third year at a local college in South Carolina and was preparing to become a nurse and then planned on joining the Navy. As I talked, I began to realize how much I missed talking to the opposite sex. Elaine was intelligent and much more mature than I thought than Betsy. While she talked, my eyes were drawn to her legs and her ankles. She quickly brought me back to reality when she asked if I had a girl back home. She seemed relieved when I said I did not. As we drove to the motel, I seemed unconventional to be sitting next to a woman who was driving. I never experienced that before. We reached the motel, time?
12.
We reached the motel at 18:30 hours. Smith related that we were late and that they were starved. We found a pleasant restaurant and a delicious meal and a congenial dinner conversation. I enjoyed myself and I did not feel tense or on my guard as I usually did under these types of circumstances. Smith and I split the dinner cost between the two of us. As we left the restaurant, we looked for a good movie to attend. The girls decided they wanted to see The White Cliffs of Dover with Greer Garson and Walter Pidgeon.
Yeah.
How was that movie?
That was a war movie.
Was it good?
Oh, yeah. Two main actors.
Is it still playing today?
Somewhere it's playing, yeah, probably over in Europe.
Yeah. Okay. Was the movie theater packed when you were there?
Oh, yeah.
How much did the movies cost?
$1.25.
As we sat in the movie, I thought how strange it would be to be among civilians.
What?
As you're sitting in the movie in your military uniform, you thought how strange it was to be now sitting amongst civilians.
Yeah.
As I was accustomed to seeing only uniformed faces
Yeah.
back at camp. Elaine snuggled up close to me, and I put my arm around her. I felt elated and excited at her touch. Shortly thereafter, I had my hand in mine and gently caressed it. She acknowledged it with a smile and a gently nudge my arm. Needless to say, I did not pay much attention to the movie. I was too engrossed in the drama which was unfolding before me. After the movie, we decided to go to USO, where the part of featuring Frank Sinatra and Tommy Dorsey. I was a little unsure of this part, since I was not a great dancer, inexperienced, but would be a better description, and I felt uncomfortable at the prospect of it. Elaine put me at ease immediately as we danced. I felt more confident and certain of myself. We did not talk much as we danced, but held each other closely and fell into incantation of the music and the magic of Frank Sinatra. I danced several times with Betsy. She asked me about my Army life in general, and when I thought we would ship out, she felt bad about Smith leaving the States and wanted to get married before he left. I told her I did not think that was a good idea, and she said Smith agreed with me. She then asked me what I thought of Elaine, and I remarked that I was impressed with her and would like to see her again. She gave me a little smile and pressed my arm. As we drove back to the motel, Elaine and I sat in the back seat. It was not long before we began kissing.
Ooh. Who is this one now?
Elaine.
Oh, Elaine.
She told me that she had a wonderful time and wanted to see me again. I fully agreed, and I told her Smith and Betsy will make the arrangements for our next meeting. Upon reaching the motel, the plan was to drop me off at the church where I retired for the night. Smith and Betsy would share the bedroom, and Elaine would retire on the couch in the sitting room. I kissed Elaine goodnight, and Smith drove me to the church where he picked me up at noon the next day. The church hall was in the basement of the church. As we cleaned, we had over hundreds of cots set up for the servicemen.
Yeah.
Lots of cots there, huh?
Yeah. White sheets. Three white sheets.
And who was running it? The Catholic Church?
Yeah, the Catholic Church was running it. Yeah, church was supervising it, yeah.
Okay. The church was, after washing up, I lay on the cot over the day's events. This is the first time I completely put my mind on the Army's life. I had become accustomed to, and I realized the good life I was capable of achieving. I liked Elaine, and what was more, she liked me, which was a great revelation. I thought about what she would have said if I asked her to stay at the motel. The thought was highly academic, as I do not believe I ever had asked to stay at the hotel. With that, as little exercise in moral self-righteousness, over which I promptly fell asleep. The next morning, after I showered and shaved, I went into the adjoining room for breakfast. It consisted of hot cakes, sausages, scrambled eggs, hot biscuits, and coffee. The women volunteers were outstanding. They could not do enough for us, and most of us appreciated their efforts greatly. They really made us feel at home, away from home. After breakfast, I collected my personal things, then put them in an overnight bag, then went directly upstairs to the church for Mass at 1100 hours. The Mass lasted about 45 minutes. As I waited for Smith, I wondered what he had planned for us the final day of our weekend. Smith arrived about an hour late and gave me some feeble excuse that he could not recollect the location of the church and where he had dropped me off the previous night. As we drove back to the motel, he told me the plans for the rest of the day. The girls wanted to see some sights around town, and after something to eat, it was open for discussion. Since I did not have anything particular in mind, I agreed with his intentions. Betsy and Elaine were waiting outside the motel for us. I immediately noticed Elaine looked great. She had done something to her hair which could sit next to Smith, and Elaine and I got in the back seat. As we sat down, Elaine reached over, kissed me on the cheek, and said that she had missed me.
Oh, boy.
I smiled and said I missed her also.
4 minutes.
And she took her hand in mine with my arm, and I gently pulled her closer to me.
Oh, boy.
We drove for a while, and there was not much to see in the way of sights. Then we stopped at some place to eat. During the table conversation, Smith's and Betsy's were discussing the pros and cons of her going back home to South Carolina, as her money was running out and she missed her family, which she had not seen for quite a while. I asked Elaine what her plans were, and she reiterated that she'd have to be back in school this coming Tuesday. She had hoped that when she came down, Betsy would go back with her, or at least that was the plan. Now she did not know what Betsy really wanted to do, and she wanted to stay, yet she felt an obligation to return to school. I agreed with her that she could go back to school, and she replied by smiling and squeezing my hand. After dinner, we decided to go back to the USO and see what was going on there. We arrived there on time, and to be informed that there was a 2-hour bus tour of the city. Smith hurriedly parked the car, and we hopped on board a bus. Luckily, the bus was not crowded, and we were able to find several double seats. While writing about the entire city, Elaine told me more about herself and her family. She had 2 brothers. They were both in the service, one in Europe and one in the South Pacific with the Marines. She also had a younger sister in her last year of high school, who wanted to join up as soon as she graduated. Elaine felt uneasy about her sister's desire to enlist, since she would be no one at home with her parents. That would also make her decision to join the Navy a bit more difficult for her. She felt that she would be deserting her parents. I remarked that I face the same situation,
About 1 minute left.
and that's why I decided to wait for the draft
That's
instead of
bothering his
enlisting.
eyes.
Wait for the what?
That's why I decided to wait for the draft instead of enlisting. I was on the verge of telling her about my family, but she did not pursue it. I did not bring it up, and we were both surprised when the bus pulled into the USO parking lot. We had not realized at the time it passed so quickly, as we were so engrossed in each other's company and conversation. We stayed at the USO for a while and listened to the jazz quartet that was playing there. I did not jitterbug, and the girls were not that crazy about it either. Smith would go on the dance floor and just jump about, to the great delight and exhilaration of us all.
About 30 seconds left.
Smith and I decided when Betsy and Leigh had gone back to the powder room, we would get some pizza, something to drink on our way back to the motel. We would listen to the radio and relax. Hello? Yeah, 1 second. We would listen to the radio and relax. I felt a sense of uneasiness of their action, and I believe Elaine sensed it too. Okay, you're at the location?